Howdy, folks. I think it's fair to say that the vast majority of planetary gameplay in No Man's Sky involves crossing natural landscapes. That said, every now and again, you will stumble upon a sample of civilization as you explore. Those can range from single objects to fully populated settlements and everything in between. Some are common across the universe, while others are exclusive to specific planet types. Not to mention, some are cool and some are kinda lame. It takes all kinds, though, to make a universe interesting to explore. So, after 10 years of free updates, I'd like to take a look at the ones I find most interesting, most impressive, or otherwise most noteworthy. I'm Kanaju, a guy who's been playing No Man's Sky since day one, and these are the top 10 planetary points of interest in No Man's Sky. While this list is entirely subjective, I am trying to take some objective criteria into consideration, such as variability and how much gameplay each point of interest or POI offers. By my count, there are, give or take, about 35 different types of planetary points of interest, not accounting for abandoned versions or race-specific variants. So believe you me, it was tough to make my final selections. As always though, let me know your picks in the comments below. Also, thank you for joining me in my continued celebration of No Man's Sky 10, as I release a top 10 video every week for the 10 weeks leading up to the game's 10th anniversary. I've gotta say, I forgot how much work it is to produce these videos properly, so if you're enjoying them, leaving a like, hype, comment, that's the best way to support my efforts. And as always, stay tuned for more No Man's Sky 10 announcements throughout the summer, hopefully sooner rather than later. Let's begin the list with number 10, Fossil Excavation Sites. These POIs were added in 2025's Relics update. These camps are exclusive to worlds containing fossils. They consist of a large fossil, mid-excavation, surrounded by a couple of tents and other equipment. Visually, they're pretty unique owing to those centerpiece fossils which can vary by location. Gameplay-wise, they include an NPC, lootable wheelbarrows, a buried fossil you can excavate, and most notably, a fossil trader, the only such vendor found on planets. Here you can exchange the fossils you've been gathering for others you may need to complete your collection. Admittedly, my love of dinosaurs and fossils likely colored my inclusion of it on this list, but I also find it just a uniquely down-to-earth place in such a fantastical universe. Number 9. Miner Settlements. These buildings are nostalgic to me as they've been in the game since before launch. This is where I start to show my age. When No Man's Sky first released, it was a much tougher game than it is today. That wasn't just due to dangerous enemies and weather, it was largely due to insufficient inventory space and an inability to stack materials the way you can now. There were also less ways to make money, which made gathering rare materials on planet surfaces a worthwhile source of income. Combine all of that, and you can begin to understand why miner settlements were like an oasis in the desert. These settlements consist of a small building with an attached landing pad and a couple of portable habs out back. Visually, they're pretty run-of-the-mill for No Man's Sky buildings, but it's their amenities that make them so significant. A landing pad allowed you to land your starship and take off at no cost, which again, was a pretty big deal back when resources were scarce. Back then, you couldn't just summon your ship anywhere on a planet, so having this landing pad also allows you to call your starship if you were stranded. Inside, there's a technology vendor who sold blueprints and rare components. There's a galactic trade terminal, essential to clearing your inventory without having to make the trip to a space station, and to top it off, there's a multi-tool cabinet, giving you an opportunity to find a cool new weapon. Not to mention all the scavenging you can do around the rest of the site. It's a basic point of interest, sure, but it was essential in the early days, and it's still a welcome sight today. Number 8 is a very recent addition to the game, waste processing plants. These sprawling complexes were added in 2026's Remnant update, alongside their counterparts, waste heaps. Waste processing plants are exclusively found on worlds with salvageable scrap. They're designed to function as the endpoint of the waste disposal gameplay loop, where you load up your Colossus exocraft with waste from a waste heap, drive carefully across a planet's surface, and finally dispose of the waste at the processing plant. The plant features 4 waste receptacles, one for each category of waste, into which you must sort your cargo. It's a surprisingly satisfying gameplay loop if I do say so myself. If you're inclined to save time, you can also process your entire load of cargo automatically for less of a reward. I love the design of these places. The concrete safety barriers, the mechanical arm, the piles of scrap, and of course the mechanical waste receptacles. It all looks so cool. It's the only purely industrial point of interest on this list, and one of the few industrial POIs in the game. Not to mention, it's one of the larger POIs in the game. Its unique vibe, satisfying gameplay, and limited availability set it apart from other planetary locations. For number 7, we go back to another of the oldest points of interest in the game, Monoliths. Pre-release, Monoliths looked a lot different. They were covered in runes and surrounded by rough-cut or otherwise worn stones. They felt more fantasy than sci-fi, which I think is cool. I should mention that this screenshot was also labeled as Monolith pre-release. However, since the game's release, Monoliths have looked like this, and this, and this. According to the No Man's Sky wiki, there are 17 distinct monolith designs to discover. That makes it one of the most variable points of interest in the game. Each monolith features 2 or 3 knowledge stones, which each teach a word of the dominant species language. The monolith itself is usually a text-based puzzle or riddle, where you must select the correct answer to receive a reward of some kind. The puzzles and rewards vary and are written in alien words, requiring knowledge of the language to reliably translate. After solving the puzzle, there's a second interaction that gives you the opportunity to locate the planet's portal. Considering this is the most reliable method of locating portals, monoliths are essential for expanded space travel. Since the Echoes update in 2023, monoliths and Korvax systems also feature secret terminals, which can grant you access to a unique class of multi-tool. So gameplay-wise, they're quite useful. However, I've always been drawn to them from a visual and world-building perspective. Their strange architecture and mysterious writings feel like classic science fiction in its purest form. After all, what could be more classic than landing on a desolate planet or hiking over a mountain, only to discover a mysterious structure on the horizon? Number 6 is another classic, trading posts. Once again, these are one of the earliest structures shown pre-release and thus underwent a lot of changes over the years. Prior to release, we saw these abstract, empty rooms with landing pads attached, as well as these impractical towers that would have provided some great views for sure, but good luck getting back to your ship if you fell off. Even after release, these outposts have undergone multiple upgrades, such as their size increase after 2019's Beyond update resized all of the starships in the game, and the addition of gaming tables, or hollow arenas, in 2026's Xeno Arena update. Today, they're one of the largest and most useful points of interest in the game. Much like minor settlements, their landing pads and galactic trade terminal make them an essential stop in the early game. Additionally, their population of NPCs makes them a great place to practice alien languages, not to mention a part of different quests. The multiple landing pads made these outposts important in the game's long-standing tradition of ship hunting, where you could wait for a particular ship of a particular class to land in order to purchase it. Since Xeno Arena's release, it's also a frequent stop on a gaming tour of the system, as invitations regularly lead to challengers inside. Architecturally, I've always found them quintessentially No Man's Sky, with their retro-futuristic proportions. I also love the inclusion of ladders and little platforms that sometimes hold supplies. It's one of a handful of POIs with multiple layers. Much like minor settlements, it feels like stopping into a gas station in the middle of nowhere, only this one's a little more popular. Alright, we're halfway through our list. I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. If you are, liking or hyping the video goes a long way to supporting my efforts. Thanks. Okay, number 5 is the elusive Harmonic Camp. Added in 2023's Interceptor update, Harmonic Camps are exclusively found on Dissonant Worlds. These U-shaped camps manage to pack in a lot of cool things to explore and interact with. Visually, they originally stood out because they were the first points of interest with tents in the game. Even today, I find their hastily abandoned camps to be both haunting and beautiful. The focal point of each camp is a terminal attached to a disassembled space station core. How cool is that? These terminals are quite versatile. They can be used to locate Crash Sentinel interceptors for salvage, or if you complete a simple math puzzle, you can unlock a nearby multi-tool cabinet with weapons exclusive to these locations. That's awesome enough, but nowadays you can also access some of the endgame content, which I won't spoil too much. Besides those utilities, there's also an autophage head you can interact with in another tent, as well as several lootable wheelbarrows containing some potentially great loot. Also, if you're in the endgame, there are additional interactions. If you know, you know. Overall, it's a cool, moody location full of unique loot and actual gameplay utility exclusive to one type of planet. It's checking a lot of boxes for me. Now, number 4 is a point of interest with a long storied history. Portals. Portals. It's ancient history now, but some of you may recall that No Man's Sky's original launch in 2016 didn't exactly go as well as it could have. I enjoyed the game because, what can I say, it was fun. But a lot of folks were unhappy with what they referred to as cut content. One of the most prominent pieces of cut content was a functioning portal. One of the earliest No Man's Sky trailers was literally named No Man's Sky Portal Gameplay Trailer, and it depicted the player going through a portal and instantly arriving on another planet. Yet, on release, there were no functional portals to be found. That's not to say portals weren't in the game. They were, in fact. They were just dormant. Because of this, folks spent hours and hours and hours trying anything and everything to get them to activate. Obviously, none of it worked since they weren't programmed to function in that build of the game, but folks had hope. I had hope. Back then, you could only stumble upon them by accident. There was no way to navigate to them, which made them the rarest points of interest in the game for that first year. That was until 2017's Atlas Rises update brought them to life, featuring them prominently in the game's new story content. Man, I love Atlas Rises. What an update. Anyway, portals. So they work now. After collecting individual glyphs from the graves of dead travelers, solving the riddles of the monoliths, and spending an afternoon powering up the controls, you can use a portal to travel almost anywhere in the galaxy. Whichever galaxy you're currently exploring, that is. If you saw my top 10 game-changing features, you know how much of an impact this made for both exploration and community building. Literally game-changing. Today, it might seem like a lot of work to essentially fast travel, but trust me when I say this was one of the most significant points of interest both within and without the game, between 2016 and 2018. Being able to instantly travel to new, unknown worlds, originally without your ship, was just the coolest thing. Actually historic, right? Not to mention their visual design is iconic thanks to that trailer. Very monumental. Number 3 is another point of interest with its own storied history, crashed freighters. Oh man, I love crashed freighters. I cannot tell you how special these things were to me when they were added in 2017's Atlas Rises update. Damn, I love Atlas Rises. I remember when the patch notes leaked the evening before release. I was at the office working late, and I couldn't contain my excitement. I couldn't believe they were adding crash freighters. They finally did it, I thought. Let me explain. It's December 2013. Whew, a long time ago, right? Anyway, the first ever trailer for No Man's Sky releases, and it features some crazy stuff that gets everyone hyped, myself included. One of the most memorable shots in that trailer is the slow approach towards a crashed freighter on this icy planet. Fast forward a year to December 2014, and another crashed freighter is seen on this icy planet, alongside these ring structures, which were added also in Atlas Rises. Damn, I love Atlas Rises. What I'm trying to say is, when I booted up the game in 2016, I couldn't wait to discover a colossal wreck on a lonely planet and explore it, right? Scavenging whatever cargo or tech I could find. To be fair, that was my imagination running with the idea, but that did lead to some disappointment when I eventually realized I'd never find one in the game myself. That was until Atlas Rises. These things changed the landscape of the game. They were far and away the biggest points of interest when they were added. Gameplay-wise, they offered something new as well. They featured a landing beacon for your starship, very convenient, a black box with lore about the fate of the freighter, plus you could dig up cargo pods for loot and climb the ruins for fun. That said, once you had seen one, you'd kinda seen them all. There was no visual variety other than changing colors. But that all changed in 2018's Visions update. Finally, these colossal ruins looked different on each world, and I was obsessed. Again. The interiors were also updated, featuring destructible panels and doors. Today, they can also be home to some endgame content, which, let me tell you, combining these locations with tents and things like that, it just makes for some of the coolest locations in the whole game. I love these things. Fun fact, The underwater version of these guys still feature the same layout as the original Atlas Rises freighters, without the destructible interiors or the variation, right? Pretty cool. It's like a time capsule. All right, number 2 is a big one. Literally, Colossal Archives. 2020's Origins update brought the biggest planetary point of interest so far into the game. Colossal Archives. Well, they're definitely the tallest by any count. These structures are incredible landmarks, visible from a great distance. They're akin to skyscrapers, although they share a design language with the newer space stations. They even have giant rocket nozzles on the bottom, implying these incredible constructs were built elsewhere and then transported themselves across the universe, right? And I think that's a cool bit of world building that also explains how such massive structures could exist on otherwise sparsely populated planets, right? Who would have built these things? Being the biggest, most impressive planetary structures in the game is enough to land them on this list, but it's their array of amenities that place them this highly. Colossal Archives are themselves a repository for their faction's knowledge. Each archive features 3 text records that the player can study. That said, these locations function like rest stops more than libraries. Each Colossal Archive includes 5 or 6 landing pads depending on the layout, which keep the skies around the archives active. The maze of platforms leading up to the archive are filled with NPCs and vendors. Specifically, you'll find a technology merchant, a guild envoy, 2 hollow arenas, a galactic trade terminal, and 2 machines unique to these locations. The first is the local information repository, which will sell you a chart to a local ruin to excavate. Once you've dug up some treasure, you can bring your discoveries back to any of the artifact exchange vaults found throughout the structure. These vaults allow you to trade your artifact or treasure for another one, possibly of higher value. The player in me loves all of the available features. The explorer in me loves the variation in shape and layout. These locations feature multiple floors and rooms to explore, not to mention the main structure which you can climb. I just think they're fun to run around. And fun fact, you can also find living versions of these buildings. For some reason, I don't know what to tell you guys. It's sci-fi fantasy. Now, as cool as Colossal Archives are, there is one point of interest that just beats the rest. And if you think this video on points of interest beats the rest, please consider leaving a like on the video. If you don't think it beats the rest, leave a comment. Editor Kanaju here. I don't know how I completely forgot to include my my honorable mentions. So let me just real quickly go over these. Obviously, player bases, player built bases, those are the coolest points of interest in wherever they're built. But obviously that's kind of cheating for the purposes of this list since they're not really a part of the game. They're player created content, but want to give a shout out to, player bases and player base builders. Another honorable mention are ruins. I love ruins, but I love them because I love ruins. I don't love them because they're particularly interesting. If you were to put all 3 categories of ruins together, if you were to put sunken ruins, like the ruins you can excavate, and then the procedural ruins together, maybe it would be like, it would beat out the fossil excavation site and get on the list. But honestly, separately, ruins could be cooler than they are. Boundary failures, love these things. They were the first planet exclusive or planet type exclusive points of interest in the game back in 2017, Atlas Rises. I mean, they're really stylistic. It's something that had been like cut content. They're really unique, right? These giant rings, it's not really clear what they are. Plus, you can fly through them, which is fun. Not to mention the lore, of course. They're just really cool sci-fi things, right? And then my last honorable mention are just autophage camps, but because of how those relate to other points of interest, again, I'm not going to spoil too much. They don't really count. So, yeah. All right, back to the video. Without further ado, though, number 1, settlements. Of course, number 1 was always going to be settlements, right? Procedural towns with tons of unique explorable buildings, dozens of NPC citizens, architecture that varies greatly by faction. I mean, come on, doesn't get better than this. As of June 2026. Planetary settlements are the most sprawling, most procedural, and most interactive points of interest in the game. That goes for space or planets. They're also the most populated points of interest in the game, period. Even without becoming mayor, which you can, visiting a settlement can be a lot of fun for explorers. If you do want to become mayor, once you take control, it unlocks a whole new side of the game. You can build structures, upgrade buildings, hire new settlers, make policy decisions, and produce products. It's fun to watch your settlement grow and improve over time. Different types and classes of buildings also offer different features. Markets give you trade terminals, guild envoys, and technology merchants. Water towers are great for scanning the stars. Landing pads allow you to upgrade or salvage ships, and saloons, they play music. Oh yeah, and now you can fish too, which is interesting, very fun. Different settlements can face attacks from different enemies as well. Certain races have different buildings, and every single settlement is completely unique. Every single one in the game, even from other settlements on the same planet. That fact alone has always made them the most exciting POIs in the game to me. I love procedural architecture, and you see some pretty cool structures in these places. All of that extra gameplay on top just solidifies its place at the top. I've spent hours talking about settlements on this channel, what works, what could be better, etc. So I won't keep yapping on the subject, but suffice to say, they're literal towns. Of course they're number one, right? But hey, that's just one guy with a microphone's opinion, right? Let me know yours in the comments below. And thank you so much for listening to my list of the top 10 planetary points of interest in No Man's Sky. I might do another video on space points of interest sometime, but no promises. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like or hyping the video if you're on mobile. If you're interested in my upcoming No Man's Sky 10 coverage, you can actually subscribe to the channel free of charge. Just free. Crazy, right? Now, if you'd like to become a valued member of the channel, that does cost 99 cents. But again, subscribing, totally free. Thank you so much for watching. Special thanks to my subscribers and valued members of the channel, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye!